What's going on, everyone? It's Jaronism, back with another video for you today. Just a little space junk, we'll call it. So, I have to remind you, as always, not to just trust me. Do your own research. If you want to believe in things like space and orbits, go right ahead. If you want to believe that stars are suns, just because people say so, hey, that's your business. But that does kind of remind me about one thing. It's time for a new rule. New rule! If you think this Kmart Build-A-Fort Blue Light Special from 1969 went to the moon, you are never allowed to call anyone else a moron, stupid, or idiot, ever. Want to prove me wrong? Well, build one and we can see. You'll need some shower curtain rods, some black construction paper, cellophane, and gold tinfoil. Don't forget that. Duct tape, scotch tape, some poster board, and some large pieces of cardboard. Put it all together, add some circuit breakers, and a Nintendo Game Boy as a flight computer, and then blast off. What a lie, what a lie. Because, in case you didn't know, people really do exist who think this is on that red light you see in the sky. They think this picture is from Mars. The one picture with mud, they think is from Mars. People believe that Johnny Five is alive and well right now exploring Mars. Here you can see this image, this little rover that's out there on Mars. You can see its little path. Now follow that path and you see that rock? Well, that rock is about half the size of that rover, and somehow I guess we're supposed to believe that it just rolled right over it with its three wheels on the left. Yeah, sure they did. People will honestly believe anything. Here you see a recent Discover satellite image of the moon as it crosses the planet. Now, I don't know about you, but I've seen episodes of Gumby that look more realistic. Now, here's the big problem. That moon is in a new moon phase for us on Earth, but from the sun's position, where we are looking at this image, it would be a completely full moon. So why do they show us some dark little ball? I guess because we're supposed to think it's on the dark side, but it's not dark from that position, so just another mess up by NASA. Some people might stop me and say, wait, what about the atmosphere? The atmosphere is why we see it so bright and pretty, and they'd have no atmosphere from where that picture's taken. But when you think about it, just look at the images taken from Apollo of the moon. They see the exact same thing we do, so your little atmosphere excuse doesn't hold much weight. Now I'm going to teach you an important skill at a really cool site. It's called Photo Forensics, and that's photo with an F, as in F NASA. And basically it'll take any image and show you an ELA on that image. And ELA stands for Air Level Analysis. So I'm going to show you a couple images and how easy it is to determine whether or not we're looking at an actual legit image or more than likely a copy or edited version. So the image you're looking at is a picture of the moon that I took last night. It has not been edited or touched, so when we put it through the air level analysis at Photo Forensics, we see it turn into something like this. It's very smooth, lists a high percentage of quality as JPG, and a lot of images don't come back looking quite like this, especially when you start looking at NASA and SpaceX and some of these other fraudsters' images. So here's a picture of the Earth taken from Apollo 11, and let's see what it looks like when we send it through an air level analysis and we get back this. So what you see there is not what you should be seeing if you were looking at a completely legit image. Now, another way to tell whether or not somebody's image is suspect is by looking at the EXIF data. Now, a lot of people have their EXIF data turned off on their cameras, turned off on their cell phones, which makes a lot of sense because you don't want to put out images that have attached to it information about your camera. It has information about your GPS location and things like that that a normal everyday person would not want that information getting out to the public. But if you ask me, NASA and SpaceX would be somebody I would think absolutely would want every bit of information in their images to prove themselves. And guess what? NASA and SpaceX completely delete the entire batch of EXIF data. You get nothing. So we've been looking at these 7 pages full of info from my one image. It tells you whether it has been edited or not, all GPS data, date, time, location, altitude, flash, aperture, shutter speed, and about 10,000 other things that I know nothing about. So if I gave you my moon image and you saw that very clean ELA and then 7 pages of EXIF data, it would be hard to prove my image was anything other than 100% legit. Now, is that what we get when we look into NASA and SpaceX? Of course not. We would be fools to think so. This image that you're looking at right now is all the EXIF data that exists on a SpaceX image. So they go out of their way to erase what could be used to prove what they're doing is legit. So I put out a challenge right now to NASA and SpaceX. Stop erasing your data. Fake it like you do everything else. This all really reminds me of a Carl Sagan quote. He said, "One of the saddest lessons of history is this. If we've been bamboozled long enough, we tend to reject any evidence of the bamboozle. We are no longer interested in finding out the truth. The bamboozle has captured us. It's simply too painful to acknowledge, even to ourselves, that we've been taken. Once you give a charlatan power over you, you almost never get it back. So the old bamboozles tend to persist as the new ones rise. This time, though, Sagan was the one who got fooled, and science was the bamboozler." So let me show you how we look into an image. This on the screen now is 2 images side by side. It is the ELA of the image that I put up in a video about JFK recently. It's JFK coming out of a funeral on the left, and then the ELA image on the right. So same image, and based on this, I would clearly say that this is a completely legit, fully legit image that has not been doctored or edited. And basically, let's look at some of the dots. You can kind of follow along with what I'm saying. If you look at the very left side, you should see a yellow dot up on the wall. And then if you look at the floor in front of the priest there, you should see another yellow dot. Because those 2 things are the same color, then in the ELA output, they should be the same color. So if we look over at the right now, you'll see that dark black on the wall and on the ground are the same color. If you see something different, it is screaming to you that there's a possibility that that image has been edited. You do want to be careful with some of these images that you don't go off and accusing people, because there is certain things that can manipulate these results. Imagine, if you will, that I edit an image a whole bunch, but then I go down to CVS and I have it printed out on nice 8x10 cardstock, and then I take an image, or I take a picture of the newly edited image. Well, of course, air level analysis would not do you very good in that particular case, because you've taken a picture of an image, and sometimes those are easy to tell as well, but for somebody who's not used to doing this or doesn't do it professionally, it is kind of hard to tell. It's also very important that you try and get the original image, and the reason for that is because once an image has been saved, and then again and again, it's just like an old cassette tape. The more times it's been saved, the more the quality is affected. And so sometimes you'll see an image that looks like a complete disaster. We'll see some of those coming up here. And that's most likely because it's been saved multiple times. But with NASA and SpaceX, you can go and get the original image. And when you see that, a disaster, wonder why. So continuing to look at this image, let's take a look at the 5 red dots in the middle. Basically, I was looking at the white dress, or whatever a priest wears, and also the sleeve of the priest next to him. And if you look at the image that I have the red dots on the right, his white dress gown or whatever is kind of a dark black now, and so is the outstretched arm of the priest next to him. You can also see on the left Kennedy about to enter the car in a black suit. I put 2 green dots on him and 2 green dots on the man in the black suit behind him. And then on the right side of the image, you'll see that they generally remain the same. And this would pass in my book as a legit image. Now, let's look at some that may not. Let's start out with this recent landing photo. And when you're looking at that, you'll see that the fire there and the rocket itself are both like a bright white, correct? When we run ELA on it, you'll see now that the smoke has turned black, but the rocket remains white. So that is usually a sign of an edited image, which doesn't surprise me at all, considering everything we get from these space agencies is complete and total fabrication. How about this image? This is another launch image put out by SpaceX on their website, And I want you to pay attention to the fire coming out from the bottom of the first stage rocket as we switch to an ELA analysis. And you'll notice that the fire turned a weird black. Makes no sense. That doesn't even belong in the image. If you look at the entire image, there's nothing that's a black purple like that. Basically, it means it's been edited. It no longer surprises me, and it shouldn't surprise anybody. It's not a matter of if anymore. It's just a matter of how and why, if anything, because they absolutely operate as a organization that's out to deceive you. Anybody else would provide real images and not this junk that we get. Look at this one of the standing rocket on the pad. You know, if they were legit, they would land like this. This is where they would land the rocket. There would be 6 HD cameras looking up in the sky, looking in every direction. We wouldn't get one 1980s grainy film. And then over the coming days, yeah, they'll start popping out. We'll see video after video, a video from the perspective of the rocket, one from the ground, one from the side. But they've had plenty of time to edit and doctor the information we've been given. In this image, I want you to keep your eyes in between the 2 pillars on the left and watch them as they appear, and watch where the smoke shows up. And it's just another bit of evidence that this is a doctored image. See that? The smoke was not there, and then it's so clearly there in the real image or the non-ELA image. How about this one here? Supposedly showing the LEM above the moon. And when we run that through an ELA, we see that it is not at all what you should see if it was a legit image. So do check out that site, photoforensics.com, with an F again, as in F Elon Musk. You can upload images or use a web URL, and also make sure you go through the tutorial and the test. Let's listen about Juno.
In the shadow of our planet, the spinning Juno spacecraft deploys its 3 massive solar arrays, which will power the mission for the next 6 years.
So here's another little problem I have. They seem to be able to turn on and off these different satellites whenever they want. Why did I heard rumors that they're going to crash this thing into Jupiter? Why not use it for other missions? Why not bring it back? Why not fly it other places? It's using solar energy. Why would you use it for 6 years and then trash it? Except for you really like stealing people's money. Oh, and before I forget, I wanted everyone, at least in America, pat yourselves on the back. We all donated $10 million to some AI research. Pretty cool, huh? Actually, it was Elon Musk who donated it, and of course the media went crazy as if he was something special. I don't get it. I've coughed up phlegm more impressive than Elon Musk. And they don't get that he has benefited from $4.9 billion in government support. So I don't know about you, but I would definitely have no problem donating $10 million if I had $4.9 billion given to me from government grants. So, is it really impressive? Is it even impressive in the least bit? Survey says. So let's take a look at the LISS, the orbiting stink box. It is in constant free fall, but falling at such a speed that it always misses the curvature of the Earth. It falls around the globe over and over and over. I mean, the thing has never even provided longer than an hour of continuous transmission and has been the biggest waste of money probably in the history of mankind. 18 years going in circles and $150 billion later. Riddle me this. Name one benefit that has been felt by humans here on Earth that is a result or came from the LISS. 150 billion is stupid. Take Barry Bonds, for example. One of the greatest players ever. Doesn't play anymore, but when he did, he was making $22 million a year. At 162 games and 3 at-bats, on average, it's about 486 plate appearances, or $45,000 per plate appearance. You could get $9,000 per pitch, $300,000 per home run. Guy made a ton of money. But if the ISS costs Americans $150 billion, how many seasons would Barry Bonds need to play while making $22 million to make $150 billion? Would it be 6 seasons, 68, 688, or 6818? The answer is 6,818 seasons to make $150 billion. Nothing to show for it. Let's look at it another way. Let's put $5 in a hat every single minute of our entire lives, which would be $300 per hour and $7,200 per day. How long until you're able to have the cost of the ISS in that hat? Just do mental gymnastics. Are we thinking 1,000, 2,000, 5,000, 10,000? 57,077 years of putting $5 in a hat every single second without break. Craziness. So there NASA sits on top of a yearly budget of $22 billion a year. That is the equivalent of $61 million a day. And yet, for an excuse for the moon landing films being recorded over, they said they didn't have money to buy new film. So they decided to tape over, the greatest achievement of mankind. What I don't understand is it's even more American that we faked it. I mean, that takes skill. That takes dedication. But taping over the moon landings? Wow. And to those of you who hate me for simply pointing out the ways that they deceive us and spend your days arguing on behalf of fake facts and looking the other way numerous times per day, you'll need to look away again, because you can't tell me that for 1 second that with $60 million per day, they can't afford or have better things to do instead of simply placing an Earth-facing camera on the moon, or actually providing 24/7 video footage from the ISS, sending a robot to the moon so that it can show us the moon landings and confirm once and for all that it wasn't a hoax. None of those things, huh? That $60 million has other places it's got to go every single day. It's ridiculous, folks. You should know the difference between truth and lies. And unfortunately, you think flat earthers are just lying and think NASA is telling the truth. You are in for a rude awakening very soon. One person that knows about the lies that NASA's been telling for far too long, Mr. Cat Williams, and earmuffs are recommended for the children for the next 3 minutes.
Had a little company, used to be in America, called NASA. They planning on leaving us, people. Please remember where you heard it first, right at the cusp of 2012. They are planning on leaving our motherfucking ass right here. They got space shuttles lined up with GPS navigation on star. They are planning on leaving our motherfucking ass right here.
Come on, one more time. It's got to be the funniest hop across a stage in the history of comedy. Once more.
They are planning on leaving our motherfucking ass right here.
And I totally understand, Kat, where you're going with this. Year after year, we've been handing these liars billions of dollars. So I got to ask the question, NASA, what do you got? Show us what you got. I need to know how you benefit mankind. Do tell.
The International Space Station is the most unique laboratory that exists. There are things that you can learn, things that you can do in space that you just can't do on the Earth.
Space Station really provides an opportunity to explore, for example, say medical applications.
The aging and the osteoporosis and muscle wasting conditions are greatly accelerated in microgravity.
Understanding those phenomena allow us to look at how we can improve treatment of disease here on Earth.
What we have is the capability to affect people's quality of life.
But it's not just drug companies that can benefit from experiments or research in space, but it's a host of industries across the board.
But it wasn't always easy to get there.
Historically, access to space was limited to companies and corporations, which were selected by the government, and what we lost was the true creativity of so many innovative smaller companies that really didn't understand how to get to space.
When we were doing the reauthorization of NASA, we wanted to expand the opportunities to different areas of experimentation and also different entities.
Recognizing the untapped potential for commercial access to space, in 2005, Congress declared the U.S. portion of the International Space Station a national laboratory.
Essentially, it opened up opportunities for research that could be done on the space station that would benefit us here on Earth.
Everyday companies and everyday researchers and everyday people can think about using the space station. That's a fundamental change that was never allowed before.
Today, we offer opportunities to the researcher that never existed before.
Whether it be seed funding to help support the actual project,
To access to experts to create hardware.
that rocket ride up, the on-station time with the astronaut as your lab technician, what we're doing is really making it as easy as possible for people here on Earth to do space-based research without becoming space experts.
Our part of the mission is to help guide these non-traditional, innovative users from their traditional labs here on the ground to a very unusual and important asset in space. The ISS National Lab has space versions of hardware that you can often find in laboratories here on the ground.
Everything from even animal habitats,
Plant growth chambers,
Freezers,
3D printers,
Earth observation windows,
incubators,
furnaces,
to centrifuges.
microscopes.
the list goes on and on. So we're working with companies that you would never imagine, and they would never have imagined using the International Space Station, and they're seeing great results from that.
And the International Space Station offers researchers like me an opportunity to find the key variables.
It's helping us to pinpoint therapeutic molecules.
The space station really provides us a unique opportunity, a unique environment to do some basic and fundamental research that allows us to develop products better.
The ISS allows us to do a series of experiments in weightlessness that will have profound impacts for life on Earth.
Having a U.S. national lab in space has allowed for the formation of a wide range of companies. It's creating a new economy, a sustainable marketplace that has services, commercial products, competition. There's no limit to what we can be doing in a few years.
Wow. Where can I sign up to donate more? So let's look at some of what they said, as they simply spoke in nauseating circles. They never give any examples, any specifics. It's always making scientific strides, or improving the quality of medications back on Earth, or testing various phenomenon in zero gravity to improve our understanding on Earth. They provide opportunities to explore our new national laboratory and give everyday people and everyday companies chances to explore space like never before, allowing you to research to make your products better. How? How would testing in space help here on Earth? That's why no company is doing that. First, you saw an older lady in that video talking about how great space-based science was. Her name, Millie Hughes Fulford. If the name sounds familiar, it's because she's an ex-NASA astronaut. Of course, the video forgets to mention that in her little bio. Also in that video, the head of the company who is supposed to be in charge of the National Space Laboratory on the ISS, and that man is the head of CASIS, the organization who was awarded by NASA the responsibility of inciting the imagination of entrepreneurs and scientists alike. CASIS will drive scientific inquiry towards developing groundbreaking new technologies and products that will tangibly affect our lives. Do you notice yet when they just talk in complete and total circles? Alright, so let's see what we can find out about CASIS. Well, the blonde lady at the start of that little film piece is the Director of Commercial Innovation. And we saw on the video that Gregory H. Johnson is President and Executive Director of CASIS. I wonder what ties they have to NASA, since NASA is the one funding this operation. Well, of course, Gregory H. Johnson is a former NASA astronaut. I'm not surprised. He piloted 2 space shuttle missions, STS-123 and 134, and now he's the head of CASIS, which stands for the Center of the Advancement of Science in Space. It is a non-profit 501c chosen by NASA in 2011. So let's look at their finances and see what we can find, starting in 2011, when their revenue was $11.5 million. And guess what? They got $11.5 million from NASA. 2012, NASA gave them $15.2 million, and their revenue shows $15.2 million. Doesn't look like they do any other work. Just collect their NASA funds. 2013, NASA gave them $15.2 million. And so what do you think they listed as their revenue? Of course, $15.2 million. 2014, $15.2, $15.2. They do nothing. I bet they pay themselves well. Let's see. So let's look at 2013 in their Form 990, Part 7. Gregory Johnson, President and Executive Director, $148,000 plus $5,000 in bonuses. Dwayne Ratliff, Chief Operating Officer, $225,000 plus $31,000 in incentives. Jorge Fernandez, Chief Financial Officer, made $200,000 plus another $18,000. Charles Resnick, Chief Economist, made $220,000 plus $30,000. Warren Bates, Director of Portfolio Management, $200,000 plus $19,000. James Royston, Interim Executive Director, made $228,000 plus $11,000. It goes on and on from here. You can see it added up. If you want to find some good reports on this, go to NASA Watch and look up the articles involving CASAS. Total scam. And the IRS, the way they look at things, suitable compensation for nonprofit employees is supposed to be gauged by the amount of work they do. And in this article, you'll see that he figures out that they each do maybe 6 hours of work a month. You got to be kidding me. And we just let this happen. More than NASA money going right into the pockets of other people, right out of our pockets. It's all a scam. So really, it's just another fraud connected with NASA. And NASA is doing great work and doing work with Merck now, we see. Fantastic. Who wouldn't want to work with Merck? They invented and distribute almost all vaccines, rubella, mumps, MMR, and they are the maker of Vioxx. Ever heard of it? You should have. It's one of the most prescribed drugs ever. However, it was kind of responsible for 46,783 heart attacks and only 26,603 deaths. Imagine if you killed one person. Imagine if you killed 3. That's lifetime in jail for sure, but not for Merck. They just paid out $4.8 billion in lawsuit payouts, even though the analysis said that they were probably at fault for $15 to $25 billion, and they paid out the $4.85 billion and didn't even need to admit fault. According to internal emails, Merck had a long list of doctors who were speaking out against them in Vioxx, so they were on the list to be neutralized and discredited. Then, in an email, it was said, "We may need to seek them out and destroy them where they live," said one employee. A Stanford Medical School professor said Merck was engaged in intimidation of researchers and an infringement of academic freedom. Oh boy. Just think of all the brainwashed people in this world that think NASA is good, that think medicine is good, that think education is good. Boy, oh boy, we let our country get taken over and 80% of the citizens still don't even know it. The empty words that come from NASA daily are just that, empty. They prove nothing, they erase data, they manipulate results, they do anything, they do everything, and they do nothing. It's insanity. NASA's been found to be cheating climate data over 10 times already, and yet you're a buffoon for doubting climate change. That makes sense. Once you have the media, you have it all. And if you haven't noticed, the media is gone. Bought and paid for long ago in the pockets of those who want to hold us down. So now let's listen to Lisa Spence talk about Hera. This guy asks her to summarize the Human Exploration Research Analog Habitat. 4 people are simulating a 715-day asteroid mission in 30 days. Doesn't make any sense. Don't ask me. He asks her to summarize the scientific goals. Please watch and pay attention to her face, as she will tell you that it's very clear that her mission is to steal your money.
Asteroid. So the crew members that we'll have inside the Hera are really simulating a long-duration spaceflight mission in which they're doing a transit phase, an at the asteroid phase, and a return phase to Earth, all in 30 days. So it's really very exciting. They get a lot of scientific research done for us, and they do a lot of tasks that sort of fill out their timeline.
Very cool. So it's a good thing they're not actually going to be there for 715 days. 30 days makes it a little bit easier. But can you tell us where they're going to be? Describe this habitat for us.
So the Hera is actually a 3-story structure that we have in Building 220 here at the Johnson Space Center. The first story is really what I call the working structure. It's similar to the ISS lab, if you will, except ours is more vertical than horizontal that you see in Building 9. So the lab areas where the crew members are going to spend a lot of their time actually doing the scientific investigations, doing a lot of the tasks that they'll be conducting during the mission. They'll be doing some simulations, some robotic analysis, all sorts of different tasks that they do on the working level. The second level is what I call the habitation level. So that's where they have the galley. They have some exercise equipment on the second level. They do get to perform some work tasks on the second level. Our ECLIS system is on the second level, and they'll be doing some support work with the ECLIS system. And then the third level is their sleeping quarters. So you can think of it as the crew quarters on the ISS. So each crew member has his or her own sleep station, their own private space that they can spend time in only 8 hours a day.
So plenty of space in the Hera for them to actually do their work and live, because they do have to be there in this particular simulation for 30 days. So tell us a little bit more about the mission, the research that they're going to be doing.
So the primary purpose of the Hera is to do human research. So we're part of the human research program. And during this particular series of missions, the crew members involved in the Hera are going to be conducting scientific investigations for over 20 different principal investigators. It covers a very broad range of scientific investigations. So the majority are looking at behavioral health and performance, but even within behavioral health and performance, it's split between things like mood states and anxiety, reactions to different kinds of stressors, how well people are sleeping, how well they get along with each other. We look at team dynamics and individual dynamics. We're also doing some investigations using some wearable sensors, so some physiological and some future potential medical experiments on the crew members. And we're even doing a study on a potential future food system for long-duration space missions. So we really have a very broad spectrum of research that's being conducted during the 30-day mission.
So a lot of research being done in this 30 days. Do you do 30 days all the time, or is this the first time that this is happening?
This is the first time that the Hera is involved in a 30-day mission. The Hera has been around only for a couple of years. The first year they did 7-day missions, and we did 4 of those. The second year we did 14-day missions. We did 4 of those. And so the mission that's just now starting will be the first 30-day mission, and we will do 4 identical 30-day missions during this calendar year.
Excellent. So tell us a little bit what's different about doing 30 days versus the 7 that you were talking about.
There's a significant difference. Most people can probably get through a situation in 7 days without too much anxiety. As we go longer and longer, our crew members are isolated. We call our environment isolated, confined, and controlled. So our crew members do not have access to the internet. They do not have their cell phones. They will not have radio or television. Their primary interaction over the next 30 days is going to be with the Hera Mission Control Center. So they will be interacting with the Hera MCC once a week. They will be allowed to have a private conversation with their family. And just like on the space station, should they have a need or desire to have a conversation with a medical doctor, we always have one on call. But their primary interface is going to be with each other, just the 4 of them, and mission control.
No Wi-Fi for 30 days, that's going to be tough. But tell us about the 4 of them. Who are they?
We have really 4 excellent and highly motivated crew members for this particular mission. We have one crew member who is actually from JSC, a flight controller at JSC. We have a scientist from Kennedy Space Center. We have a medical doctor, and we have an aerospace engineer who works for Virgin Galactic. So we're pretty excited, and so are our crew members. Our crew members are Leah Honey, Michelle Courtney, Lachelle Spencer, and Julie Lynn Wong. And they come from, as I said, all over the country. They're not just from the local area here in Houston.
Now, is there a way that people at home can follow along for the mission, or at least afterwards get a glimpse of what happened during the 30 days?
Yeah, absolutely. A couple things that we're going to be doing for this mission that we have not done in the past. The crew members really aren't going to be able to engage in social media or to send blogs out or anything like that. But we at Mission Control will be working with the crew members, and we'll be working with the folks in public affairs here at JSC to do a little bit more media outreach. So we'll have some features coming out prior to the mission about what the mission is all about. You'll get to meet our crew members a little bit more in some of those features. And we will be doing weekly updates that we'll share with our social media friends here at JSC. So we'll be doing some weekly updates. We'll blast out some photographs. We'll give you a little bit more information about what's going on with the mission. And then we're hopefully also going to be able to get some insights and some inputs from the crew members on at least a weekly basis, so that we can hear it in their own words how things are going for the mission.
Well, we look forward to hearing about their mission and seeing some of the results that come from a human research perspective. Lisa Spence, the Flight Analog Project Manager for the Hera. Thanks for being with us today.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Let me tell you something, folks. If NASA ever asks you to go inside any room for any reason, I'd run. Run like you're Carl Lewis or Usain Bolt. Do not look back. Plug your ears and go, na 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 na. Because I'm not going to say that NASA indoctrinates, brainwashes, or mind controls people. I'm not. But I will say that NASA clearly indoctrinates, brainwashes, and mind controls people. That's for sure. Do the research. I have another video coming soon talking about Project Bluebird, MK Ultra, Space Kids. I mean, in fact, Gordon Cooper even talks about it on Coast to Coast. So you think I'm kidding? Run for your lives. Do not turn back. Turn off the television. Turn off the programming. Empty words to some, but I guess to others, it's gospel. I mean, imagine if we had to put up with these empty words and talking in circles in other professions. Miss, can you call the auto repair shop, please?
Sure.
Thanks for calling Out of This World Car Repair. How can we help you?
Yes, hi. Do you guys do oil changes and tune-ups?
Oh, well, you have reached the most innovative and progressive car and truck repair entity known to man. Our unique approach looks at the underlying apparatuses that are the foundation of great vehicles and have been doing so for 20 years now. We are certified experts when it comes to determining an individualized and appropriate approach to each and every vehicle on a very personal, unique, and individual basis.
Okay, wow. So do you guys do oil changes then?
Ma'am, we pinpoint the unique variables and explore the fundamental and basic structures, and our panel of experts cycle through a series of experiments designed at the core to isolate the particular molecules in question and ensure that we make a profound impact.
All right, super. So about that oil change, is that something you guys do, or...?
Our specialized and fully equipped station is packed full of the equipment needed to provide the services you can't find elsewhere. We squash the competition with our comprehension and our cohesiveness of thinking and apply that to doing, which makes it a virtual certainty that we will produce the results that customers require to return to our advanced automotive establishment.
Wow, that's impressive. So do I need to give you my name, or what? Do I need to make an appointment? So
our shop is equipped with some of the tools and machinery you just can't find at any other worldly car repair shop. We always research the benefits, and when weighed against the lofty advantages that we provide, we determine the best path clear of obstruction, stopping at nothing to be your complete car package.
Sure you do. Okay, so oil changes. You haven't touched on that yet.
Well, nor have I said or mentioned anything about our American-made hydraulics, our dent repair suctioning tubes, our powder coating station. How about our lifts or our diagnostic testing equipment, our meters, our clamps and chains and hooks? How about our welding and paint guns? We have the tools you can't find at home, so depend on us to be your eyes in the engine.
Okay. So, well, your shop does sound pretty good. But I need to make an appointment for an oil change as soon as possible.
Well,
so
we help you learn the language that your car speaks through our unique approach towards the things we do and the things we do different. By isolating factors and reauthorizing individual attention, we attain a level of quality that can't be found
All right,
elsewhere.
Sparky, can you help me or not?
No problem, ma'am. Our solution team has already added the fluctuation to the experiment agenda and incorporated the drafting process to be that of a sublime purpose, which will ultimately result in a car experience that'll be second to none.
And can you just tell me the truth? Level with me here. What services do you provide, and can you provide them?
You mean like the real truth? Are you asking me for the truth?
Yeah, honestly.
Oh, we actually don't have a clue what we're doing. We just steal people's money.
Okay, thanks for nothing.
All right, have a good day, man.
Well, thankfully, most decent human beings don't like to go through life being pathetic clowns. But speaking of pathetic clowns, let's head off to the ISS for a head-to-head battle. You all recall Space Invaders, right? This game is close. It's called Space Pretenders. So, I see Scott Kelly won. The object of the game must have been, who can have a brother that would stay married to a pathetic loser pretending to be retarded? Of course I mean his brother, Mark Kelly, who is married to Gabby Giffords. Watch here as she shows us all that she is totally blind on her right side. She can't even see his thumb until it's right in front of her nose.
Yes.
So all the right side.
So of all places to put her music sheet for this interview, we know the one place we can't put it no matter what is her right side, right?
Music, it turns out, is easier than language. At 44, she's trying to relearn the French horn. She used to play it in marching band.
And one time, at band camp...
I pretended I was shot in the brain so that we could have stricter gun laws.
And you hadn't picked it up for years and years?
Years. Oh, no.
Yeah, just put it on her right side. Nobody's paying attention. Okay, so now we've got some interesting ISS spacewalk footage, and I want everyone to pay attention to a few things. First, the shape of the Earth. I want you to watch as the camera shifts, how the Earth shifts. Also note during the next few clips I will illuminate the word slow in the lower left-hand corner when I'm starting to slow down the footage, or illuminate the FF if I have played something in fast forward. What I think they're doing is simply using a fisheye lens, and when doing so, items around the image will morph. So for example, in this video here of me skateboarding, we used a fisheye lens, and you can see the rest of the image distorts as the video moves. Oh, and that's not me skateboarding. I totally would have 2 broken ankles and a busted lip, and that would be from setting up the cameras. So, no skating for me. But you can see how when the camera follows the jump or the trick that the rail or the curb distorts as well, so keep your eye open for that. So you'll notice when things like these solar arrays are in the picture that they get bent just like the Earth. So I think they are just really afraid to admit that there is no curvature. Why else would they fisheye everything? Reminds me of when Robert Simon from NASA, creator of the blue marble image, explained why and how he made the image of Earth. He said, "Then we wrapped the flat map around a ball. My part was integrating the surface, clouds, and oceans to match people's expectations of how Earth looks from space. That ball became the famous blue marble." For the next bunch of clips, you're going to be watching the yellow square there on the left. That is a camera that sits at the end of Canadarm2, which I'm pointing at with the yellow arrow. And this image here will show you the Canadarm2 so that you can see what we're looking at. And then in this next image here, you can see it next to an astronaut, so now you can kind of get its size down. Well, I'm not going to comment too much during the next few minutes. I don't want you to see it and let my feelings get in the way. You can watch it yourself, make up your own mind. But I do want to show you that clearly what we're seeing in this box is a reflection of some type. In the camera lens, I'm guessing. We saw the size, so it can't be from inside the camera lens. That makes no sense. And I do also want to point out the neutral buoyancy pool where they do their practice, and also point out the importance of this little control room here with 25 screens or 50 screens, who knows, and different angles and different cameras. You'd think that the important part would be making sure you hook up part A with part B and not how you look doing it. But then again, I don't get paid $22 billion a year to play in a pool, so what do I know? Also, here's a picture of the old neutral buoyancy lab. Obviously still important, as you see at the bottom, were the images that they were getting back. And this is on the wall of the current lab. Now, I want everybody to look at this carefully. Maybe somebody can tell me, because I can't figure it out. What is that item to the left of the astronaut, or the astronaut's right, our left? What exactly is that bell-looking item, or whatever that is? But you can see there's a little spacecraft, it looks like, crashing out of the upper left-hand part of that ball, but I don't know what that item is on the left. All right, now as I said, I'm going to leave you alone for the next little while. I'll put some music on and let you watch, and this way you don't hear me talking, but just watch that reflection. Tell me what you see. So, I apologize if you thought that was boring or nothing worth noting. Obviously, I couldn't pinpoint anything either, or nothing specific at least, but I found it very interesting nonetheless, so I included it. So here's where we are. Sometimes it appears that the video from the ISS looks real, but it also looks like it's taken from a height of a helium balloon and not 250 miles. So we know that the Earth is not a ball. They are faking the ball Earth, and that much is clear. And whatever they're doing, they are not going 17,500 miles per hour. There is no such thing as orbits around a ball Earth where you're always falling and missing the curvature of the Earth. If the Earth was a ball, you wouldn't need a GoPro camera on every image and video you take from space. Even the astronaut helmets are super bally to show the Earth as a ball. They also do not launch astronauts to the ISS on those rockets. That much I know. They do not come back here in those little pods that goes through the atmospheric re-entry at thousands of degrees. They wouldn't have built the ISS with all those pieces on the outside that always need repair to send astronauts out to fix it. And I know some of you still believe it. And to all those haters who fill the comment sections, I hope you realize how many people are out doing science right now and are interested in their world now. Why are you so angry? Are you scared? It must be that you have some sort of doubt. If you made a channel and started saying that all boys are actually girls, why would I care? Would I go to your comments and call you a moron and an effing retard? Never. Yet I'm secure in my knowledge that I'm a male. So that leads me to speculate that perhaps you guys are scared that science won't hold up to the tests. Otherwise, you should be thrilled. People are out proving science and making videos showing how they did it. It's all good fun and all good science. And if you still think that we went to the moon 6 times in 1969 to 1972 and haven't gone further than 400 miles since, well, just realize that is like in 1969 us taking a plane from San Jose to Hawaii and then never going 4 miles since then. If it were real, if the ISS were real, we would have a 24/7 video of the Earth, and we would have had it for the last 18 years. So here's where I'm 100% sure that there's definitely a huge lie, and we're starting to reveal it. NASA is the major deception. The German scientists that stem from the Nazi mindset have been testing on subjects for years. Now, I know a lot of you don't believe in the Holocaust or think it didn't happen, and some of you think Hitler was a good guy. Well, you can believe what you want, but make sure you do your research. If you think no one died in the Holocaust and in the camps, you're wrong. And if you think 6 million Jews were burned, you're wrong. But Dr. Joseph Mengele, the angel of death, did exist. He subjected human beings to horrors no one should ever be subjected to, even those who wrote and followed the Talmud. Dr. Mengele and other SS doctors used drugs, electroshock, pressure chambers, and more, all without anesthesia, and subjected children to castration, isolation, and various stimuli and mind control as they removed organs and performed unspeakable tests, not to mention the labor they put their prisoners through. Those SS scientists and doctors became Americans when the CIA brought them over after World War II. They started NASA. Using methods we can't even comprehend, they have taken over this world by doing the one thing that can cause a man to give his brain away. If you fight a man, he will fight you back. If you steal from someone, they will come after you to get their stuff back. And if you enslave a person, they will spend their downtime searching for a way to freedom. But when you use mind control and indoctrination and brainwashing, what's left is a human, but a human without being. They exist only for the purposes of the system or the person who controls their brain. They'll still fight, but they'll fight at the direction of the one who controls their brain. So if you're still human, if you see the lies and still know you're a human being, well, we are being tested. We are being challenged, and we can't win this world back alone. We gotta keep exposing this satanic system of control. I think, therefore I am has to be replaced with I think, therefore I will. Be kind, don't lie. Open your mind, because there's truth inside. Well, for some of us. Until next time, this has been Jainism. Peace.